Welcome to the REALL Academy, brought to you each Saturday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time by the Leadership Doctors, Dr. Sheka Houston and Dr. Tammy Taylor. REALL stands for Respect, Excellence, Accountability, Literacy, and Leadership. This framework is used to coach leaders and teachers and build student efficacy while putting systems in place that aligns the work of the school improvement, making the process manageable. The Leadership Doctors alignment systems are designed to help schools evolve and grow, all while instituting protocols and processes designed to promote collaboration and collegiality. They get into the weeds of work with leaders through their TrustMate Institute that you should contact them about today by filling out the contact form on their website.
Happy Super Saturday, everyone, and welcome to the REALL Academy with your very own Leadership DoctHers, HERS, home of the Resilience Framework. I am Dr. Sheka Houston.
And I am Dr. Tammy Taylor. Good morning, everybody.
Yes, good morning. Good morning, Tammy.
Good morning, Sheka. How are you?
Doing well. I know you all are excited. It's Abby's big day.
Honey, I cannot wait till this is over. And thank you, everybody who voted for Abby on her Facebook contest. We appreciate you all. We'll let you know how it goes next week.
Most definitely. She's going to do well.
She will. She's excited.
So normally we do our roll call here and see who's with us, but of course we are pre-recording because Abby's pageant is at the same time that the show would normally take place. So I think maybe next week we'll be back live with you and can do those live roll calls. But we definitely go through the chat and interact and engage with you. So please still say something to us. Let us know that you're here. And we appreciate you all joining us every Saturday.
Definitely.
As you're sharing who's here, make sure you're dropping in the comments also how you have kept it real this week. And we all know that REAL is our framework that we use, our resilience framework that you see at the top of the screen and behind our shoulders. It stands for respect, excellence, accountability, literacy, and leadership. So keep sharing those real moments. We love to hear them and to shout you out. And you all know each week that it's not just a catchy phrase for us. The resilience framework is rooted in the research and correlates of Dr. Ron Edmonds, something that Tammy and I both use to improve our schools 2 and 3 report card grade levels in 1 year. And his correlates refuted the fact, the 1966 Coleman report, that African American children could not learn at the same rate as their white peers.
Yeah, that framework that we developed connects the research and puts it in terms that easily allows leaders to organize everything that they do in their schools around those principles or the correlates that Sheka referenced just a moment ago. Teachers can use them to organize everything they do in their classrooms, and even students can use the principles to organize themselves in their classes, in their lives.
Most definitely. And we know that student leadership, teacher leadership, and leadership of the school is very, very important. And when it's aligned, it just really takes your school to new heights. So ultimately, you have a school speaking the same language around proven principles to success that creates resilience. So that brings us to our topic for today. You can't be a great leader or a great educator, period, if you are not staying on top of the current trends. And so that's why it's so important to make sure that you're constantly engulfed in what is happening so that you can be best informed to serve your students and your school and your community. So our topic for today, episode 143, is the top educational trends, more perspective with the Leadership Doctors. So one trend that we know is something that really has been happening. We've been trauma informed. It's trauma informed practices, but I think in education a lot of times we have buzzwords like, you hear something and everybody hears it, and oh, we've got to do that, and then we got to jump on the bandwagon, and everybody has to do it. And after COVID, trauma informed, even though it had been around forever, just like SEL, became one of those buzzwords in education. So it is a top trend. It's an intervention designed to respond to the unique needs of children who have experienced trauma, because more than half of all children will experience a traumatic event before adulthood. So it's important to make sure that in the trainings that we're providing for teachers as leaders and as teachers, trainings that you seek out, we must be trauma informed.
Definitely. And we want to make sure that we are respectful in that sense, that we are um, keeping it real, as Sheikah said before, and making sure people understand this isn't just about us checking the box to say that we're providing trauma informed practices in our school, or we're providing trauma informed trainings. That's not what this is. We've had trauma for centuries.
Hmm.
Children have been experiencing trauma since antiquity. So what we want is to make sure that everyone understands in a respectful way that we want to approach this, so that we're mindful of the things that our students are going through, and we are seeking out ways to meet their needs and help them to deal with those traumatic experiences that they're having. And
Hmm.
that is something that can happen both at the leadership level as well as in the classroom.
Most definitely. And I think it's important to say too, Tammy, that as leaders, we've got to respect the fact that adults experience trauma too.
Oh,
And we have
yes,
to have something in place to make sure that there is a space for their needs to be met as well.
definitely.
And I think in education and some other industries as well, sometimes because we see things so much, we become desensitized. So I like to put a name to things. When we just say trauma, I think that's equivalent to when we say, all students instead of
Mhm.
every. So it's neglect, psychological, physical, or sex abuse, witnessing or experiencing intimate partner violence, a loss of a loved one, or some type of natural disaster.
Mhm. Mhm.
So when our students or our teachers or the adults in our building have experienced some type of traumatic event, their needs have to be met before they can be ready to do anything else.
Definitely. And you're right. We all experience it, leaders, teachers,
Hmm.
students, parents, and we have to be mindful of the fact that these things exist. And for some of our students and staff, they become triggers. And one of the main things that you mentioned is loss. And it isn't just the loss of a loved one or loss of life, loss of a pet. It's sometimes the loss of your home.
Hmm.
Some of these children have been evicted multiple times, and they're traumatized because they get evicted and
Hmm.
all they have with them is whatever they had when they had to leave. So we have to really take time and pay attention to what's going on with our stakeholders.
Most definitely. And that's why the respect, the R on our framework is the door, because without that, we can't get into anything else on that framework. So that brings us to excellence. I'm not sure if some of you all use a genius hour at your schools, but this is a popular trend called genius hour that some schools implement or have been implementing for some time. It's a technique that allows students to work on self paced and self chosen projects for an hour each day. It encourages students to be creative, independent thinkers, and develop a genuine love for learning. And this is so important when we look at school and how it's designed. Tammy and I talk about this a lot. Not much has changed. A lot of it is the same from when we graduated. I'll tell when I graduated. It was just a few years ago in 1995 from high school. But the same amount of credits are needed, the same classes are needed to get into college, but we have an entire new world. And so we are not doing a lot of things differently. So sometimes that becomes stale to children to go through 12 years of doing the same things. So it's important in our new personalized society to be able to allow children to learn how to fall in love with something, learn how to craft their own genius for whatever they have to discover what they like. This is a part of their thinking process. So I think I love Genius Hour. I think it would be a
Yeah.
phenomenal thing to go into the curriculum.
I think so too. I think we have to really, and this will be, I guess, to our district and state leaders, we need to figure out how to incorporate that into what the expectations are.
Mhm.
Because the reason I think that leaders and teachers shy away from that is because we're bombarded with so much that has to happen. The minute you say Genius Hour, teachers are like, where in the world am I going to find an hour in the day to let kids explore and create? Although that's what they need, because I
Mhm.
think if you allow them the opportunity to really find their passions, I think it will make them better students. So I just wish that there were a way for us to align the systems. And, like you said, this is a discussion that we have all the time
Mhm.
about how things could be, how things should be,
Right.
and how it could benefit children in the long term if we really did allow them to explore within themselves what creates that genius and how that could turn them on to learning in a way that we've never experienced. Because this disengagement that we're facing right now
Mhm.
is a direct result of kids, and who said it better than anybody? Lazy. We're doing things that we are not interested in doing,
Not
and I am
interested.
completely turned off to it
Mhm.
because who cares?
Right. And I think, Tammy, I think we just have to, as leaders, I don't think we can wait on anybody. I think we just got to do it. We show teachers the research, let some people who are comfortable exploring it get some results, and
That's
let
right.
everybody see that the kids probably will outperform the ones who were stuck on the things that they weren't interested for the whole entire day,
You're right.
because it stimulates their brain cells and helps them think critically.
That's true.
So the next part of our framework is accountability. And one of the next trends that is big and something trending that can be controversial with some people is standards based grading. This is when, instead of having a letter grade that some people are obsessed with, then you just take the skills and what students were supposed to develop and determine whether or not, they've developed it, or you leave it blank if they haven't. And for me, with my philosophy of a growth mindset, being MTSS, I love this because I hate when children are just so obsessed with the grade. And some teachers, too, and some leaders and parents are obsessed with grades. And a grade doesn't mean that you've really learned anything. It means that you were able to check a box on something, or maybe you've memorized something for a time, but that doesn't mean it's going to stick with you. So I think that the standards based really takes things to another level when you're talking about instituting that growth mindset in children and teachers and in schools. What do you think,
No,
Tammy?
no question. And this is such a controversial topic, because this does, I think, stem a lot from the parent community. Parents want their children to get grades. They want to see a grade, and they want to see A pluses on
Mm-hmm.
assignments. So it's tough to convince parents that the better way is to really start to look at things from a competency perspective. Did they master the standard? That they
Mm-hmm.
don't want to hear anything about any standards. And when I was teaching, I am totally a proponent of standards based grading. I'm not a fan of letter grades because even within my first few years of teaching, I noticed, and this is something that I think Dr. Akua has such a profound perspective on. You know how he talks about, I think he references back to when Asa Hilliard said, all children have genius.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see this, and those same children that you know have this amazing genius inside are the
Mm-hmm.
ones who are making D's and F's, you're
Mm-hmm.
thinking, I mean, we are really doing a disservice here because this child is way smarter than what this paper says he or she is. And it just kind of got like me thinking, it has to be a better way. And honey, I found Alfie Cohn and told my principal at the time, bless him, who trusted my judgment and stood behind me when I tried to experiment with some other ways of grading, rubric based grading, to just kind of get parents in that mindset. And it did for several of the classes. Now it didn't work forever because who has time to fight this battle, Tammy? Give these kids a grade. This is, you don't like it, but this is what we do. You are going to grade them, and they
Mm-hmm.
need regular standard grading that we use. But I'm so glad to say that one thing, and this is something that happened under my leadership at the district. We did go to a proficiency based report card at the lower grades
Mm-hmm.
for kindergarten, because we were given, like, they wanted to give kindergarten children grades like, are they excellent or needs improvement? All of them need improvement because they are
Right.
just learning. We have to really consider what standards based grading could do for us as
Mm-hmm.
systemically, like what
Right.
this could look like, and how it could motivate some students who are otherwise usually not very motivated.
Right. And I think you're exactly right, Tammy, when you said system wide. Well, I think when it is system wide and when you're not one person within the system trying to, change a mindset, I think it would probably, stick a lot better. But you're right. Having those grades and what I struggle seeing in my role as the director of secondary interventions, when you're talking about tier 3 students, by the time they've gotten to high school, what they don't have anymore is confidence. So when you've been told that you're an F or a D student from third grade and now you're in 10th or 11th grade, you have no confidence in your abilities or
It
yourself
destroys
or
it.
what you can do. And
Mhm.
so these negative labels that really don't measure whether or not a child has genius, it just measures whether or not they check this box for this particular assessment, because we never engaged them in it, from the beginning, if they didn't get it or maybe they weren't ready to learn it. It destroys the potential of children. So
Right.
standards based is the way to go for me.
Yes.
All right, so that takes us to literacy. And you know that we talk about literacy from the standpoint of being proficient readers as well as proficient in math. And one of the things that are trending right now is personalized learning. Lots of controversy around this too, for the same things that Tammy talked about, with everyone wanting everything to be standardized and be the same. And when we talk about standardized testing, that creates that space for everything to be the same in a society that is
Exactly.
now very personalized. So the standardization of things is difficult, and it
It
makes
is.
kids
And
that's where the disengagement is coming about.
turns them off. And it's the same thing. Like I don't understand why this does not transcend various professions, because if you think about this, and I'm a total fan of professional learning experiences for students and for teachers, where you
Mhm.
can create those personalized learning paths so that kids are getting exactly what they need. But I'm just being honest, Sheikah, if you think about this, and I'm talking about in the banking industry, if
Mhm.
you had to wait, today is Saturday, you could not check anything with your banking, because there was a time when this was the way it was. You had to wait till Monday morning when you would
Right.
go back into the bank. People would be up in arms because we are so used to personalized banking. You could
Mhm.
check your app on your phone. You can call in to your call center. Whatever it is you do, it's personalized to your specific account. And if we could personalize banking, why in the world
Mhm.
would we not want to invest in personalizing learning for students? I just think we are not just one or two steps behind there. We are significantly behind the learning curve for making sure we're doing what's right for kids.
Exactly. I mean, everything we do is personalized, Tammy. They have cars now that
TV,
personalize to the way when you get in the car, it adjusts to how what the way you want your seat to go. Your steering wheel adjusts to where you had it
yes.
before. Everything is personalized.
Your mirrors are
Yes,
custom to the way that your weight feels when you get in the seat. It'll tell
exactly.
whether it's you or if it's me who is in this
Mhm.
chair. And when you go to turn the TV on, it's asking which one of us in the house is turning it on. Is this Tammy? Is this Keith? Is this Abby? You know,
Mhm.
it's insane that we don't recognize that children need that same space in their classroom.
And I just thought of this. Everything is smart. We got smart cars, smart TVs, smartphones. Honey, are we smart in education? When we gonna
We
get
are
smart
not
education?
being very smart. You're
Come
right.
on with the smart education,
Yeah,
somebody.
let's do it.
Okay, the last letter in our acronym is leadership, and the top trend that we have found that aligns with leadership is digital citizenship. So, a lot of our children are online for hours of the day. We've got to make sure that we are creating spaces to teach our children to be digital citizens. One of the biggest problems that you'll see trending in schools is cell phone use and students being on their cell phones or engulfed in other things when they're supposed to be paying attention to the learning. But what practices have we put in place to teach children how to be the appropriate with their devices, or what strategies do we have in place to teach them to be appropriate online?
Right.
I've dealt with the middle school Snapchat terror groups and all of these group messaging things. We have to teach children how to be leaders in all of these spaces.
For sure. And like even down to my level, they have TikTok challenges that are designed to destroy the school. So if we could utilize that digital literacy to help them to use it in a positive way, I think you're on to something, Shika, that would really take away the temptation in some of them to misuse it. But that has to happen by us being able to separate and give the kids a true understanding of what that digital space needs to look like, because devices cannot take the place of direct instruction.
Hmm.
Teachers have to realize that when you just place them to sit for the day on a
Mhm.
device, that takes away the leverage that you have to use it as a tool. Because
Right.
now they just are, it kind of is what it is, and it's nothing because they
Mhm.
don't find any value in it.
Most definitely. Well, I hope that some of this has resonated with you and you have more insight. We will talk about a few more trends next week because we are your problem solver leaders. We want to help you in your leadership to expand it, to broaden it, but also to solve problems that exist in leadership. So we hope that you have a great rest of your Saturday and that you join us right back here next week. Please hop over to Principal Kafele's page. He's going solo this week, and it is his anniversary. And I know that Principal
Yeah,
Hurt was on fire with his test taking strategies this morning about the data.
definitely.
So have a great rest of your Saturday,
Thanks, guys.
everyone,
Enjoy the rest of your day.
and wish Abby luck.
Thank you. Yeah, think about Abby, guys.